Well, I've been eyeballing that question number 2 that we never got to, which is, are we overcomplicating training? And I want to yell, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chop wood, carry water.
There you go. That is
Yes.
it. Yeah, it really is. It is quite simple, right? And
Welcome to the Athlete's Compass podcast. Each week, renowned sports scientist and founder of Athletica AI, Dr. Paul Laursen, athlete, coach, and sports scientist Marjaana Rakai, and coach and cyclist Paul Warloski discuss training, racing, and improving your health and fitness. Get ready for your journey to peak performance. Hello and welcome to the Athlete's Compass podcast, where we navigate training, fitness, and health for everyday athletes. Today, we're stepping back from the nitty-gritty details of training plans, workout structure, and marginal gains to ask a much bigger question. What really moves the needle for everyday endurance athletes, particularly those who have very little time to train? We're looking at the key pillars of fitness, health, and performance, the things that actually make a difference. We'll compare what elite athletes do versus what's practical and effective for everyday athletes, because let's be honest, most of us can't train 20 hours a week or even 12 with unlimited recovery time. So let's get right to the heart of the matter. With so much training advice out there, what matters most for endurance athletes? If you had to boil it all down, what are the key pillars endurance athletes should build their training around?
A little is better than nothing, I mean.
absolutely. Yeah. It's movement at the end of the day, right? Like this is, the pillar that we focus on at Athletica first and foremost is movement. And movement in itself is pivotal. It's fundamental for human existence. We wouldn't all be here without that movement first and foremost, right? And so in terms of one pillar that you want to prioritize in your life is movement. And of course, like we can start with the aerobic training. And when we've just spent a whole lot of time on learning about VO2 max training and all the various different influencers on your aerobic capacity. And this is ultimately our ability to get energy to move. And you want to kind of keep that up. So aerobic training is one of, I'll just sort of throw that out there. I'll let you guys go to some other ones, but that's just moving regularly, which means, fuel usage and fat burning is pretty pivotal and it should be one of the big rocks.
Hallelujah. Is that all? Are we done the podcast?
No, it's your turn. I'm not going to take up the whole floor here today.
No, but that the aerobic training and moving, and that is so important. Like you can focus on all the nitty gritty and the 1%, but if you don't move in your everyday life, like not wearing the training clothes, but just move regularly, just go for a walk, if you're always sitting in the car or, treating your body like just a vehicle to take your brain from A to B, like you can forget about being a, weekend warrior that's doing nothing. Like try to get more movement in your everyday life. That's what I would say. And I see that in some of my athletes they walk every day, they bike to work, and they're in their training diaries. There's like lots of different activities every day that are not planned. And they probably get the AI coach screaming at them like, you had 15 unplanned workouts, but they are kicking ass. They are qualifying for Boston marathons, and they are reaching levels that they haven't before, doing new PRs because they are active and they are constantly, like moving their bodies. So I can't we can just drop the mic.
No. Yeah, you're right. But this is what this podcast is going to be all about though, right? It's like fundamentals And yeah, like movement and aerobic training is a key fundamental. And yeah, doing like commuting is, and being efficient with your time of your in your training, that is fantastic. Again, the what did they say, that sitting is the new smoking
Mm.
of today, right? Because yeah, it's like a insidious, slow. It's not, we're all sitting right now, right? But we all know we're going to get out after this and we're going to start moving, right? We've got to sit for certain amounts of time, especially in this day and age, for with many jobs. Probably I don't know if it's the majority of jobs in the world, but certainly a large number, and many of our followers. Um, but yeah, you got to keep moving, and how can you also be efficient with still learning, right? Like if you're in sort of the tech world, or anything that's sort of where you're actually required to take on more information, like that's all part and parcel with whatever it is that you do. There's so many efficient ways that you can do that now, right? Where headphones on during various different workouts, inside or outside, and so you can be quite efficient with your time, but still attaining the first foundation principle that we've talked about here, and that is aerobic training and movement.
So a second is definitely for me HIIT training and doing some intensity. That would be a second pillar. And your training does not need to be all intensity. In fact, it should be mostly your aerobic training and movement. But your VO2 max, the longevity markers will improve with some HIIT training, some high intensity interval training. That would be a second pillar.
Agree. Yeah, totally. Um, have the adaptation energy ready first, as we've spoken about, and you get that from the base training, um, which is the first pillar. But if you've got the first pillar in place, I couldn't agree more with you, Paul. The next pillar, sort of throw on top of that, is to add the high intensity training, and get that. If we think of a polarized model, where polarized is like the 80-20 principle, and 80% of your training more in the aerobic base mode, zone 2 or below, whilst the 20% Paul's kind of referring to is like get some high intensity activity in your week as well.
Okay, so I sense that it's my job to throw my guns out there, and then next is strength training. If you don't do strength training, you you get hurt. Not maybe not get hurt, but third pillar is definitely strength training for
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do we want to do that as humans? Why should we lift weights?
Well, more muscle is metabolically friendly, right? And we prevent injuries. We get more efficient running, cycling, swimming, rowing, whatever we want to do for our
Yeah,
aerobic
perfect.
exercise.
Yeah, and again, if we go back to the unfortunate reality of modern life in many of these sitting occupations, that again, that sitting, and if you're just doing that, you're not giving your body the signals to say keep that muscle mass on you, right? And we want to make sure that those signals are there, so that the body knows it needs to hold on to that muscle mass. So yeah, this is why, again, going back to Athletica, the first three pillars, they're all within Athletica. Did you know that?
Mm. Hmm.
So yeah, we got the aerobic training there, we got the HIIT training there, and I just want to commend MJ for putting together these incredible demo videos of her on all of the various different strength training exercises that we recommend in Athletica. So MJ, incredible job.
Thank you. And they are all done in my dusty, messy garage, and no like pretty background drops or anything. Like they are
But
as real as they can get.
but isn't that cool? Like everyone can do this in their garage, or any sort of space that you can make for yourself. You can buy or you just manipulate the various different tools that are around us to like to lift heavy things or
Mm-hmm.
move with force and intent. And that's what you
Mm-hmm.
sort of show in these demos, which is cool.
So the first three pillars were movement based: aerobic training, HIIT, and strength training. Then we need to add in the pillars that are keeping us healthy. And the fourth key pillar would be nutrition, and making sure that we have a solid nutritional base to fuel our workouts, to fuel our body. If there is, if we're eating and consuming junk food, we're going to not feel great and not work at an optimal level. So by making sure we get enough protein in a day, and making sure we have a balanced diet of good whole foods, as much green vegetables as we can, with fruit and good protein.
Yep. Could not agree more, Paul. These are the building blocks ultimately of you. Literally, you are what you eat. Your cells turn over. You're basically, you right now are the product of the last 6 months of your food consumption. That's you. And so you got to keep that in mind. And if your food consumption of the last 6 months has not been great, you're not giving yourself the chance to be as good as you kind of can be. So really, this is why smart choices at the supermarket, in the house, in the home, and elsewhere are really, really important. So important to kind of get your head around that. I want to take this opportunity also, if I can right now, on the topic of fueling and nutrition, to plug our latest study in this, because this is, as many of us might know, I think we've done podcasts on this topic in the past. We've done really looked at the balance of carbs and fat in the diet, and what source of macronutrient might be better to have in your diet for various reasons. And to be honest, the jury is still out on this topic, and we want to run the very first large scale mass tech study on this. We're launching it now. It's called the Field Study, and Field stands for, it's an acronym for Fueling Influence on Endurance Load and Development. And this is being run by some really big league researchers in the world in this topic. And ultimately it's free for everyone in the world to participate in. All you need to do is fill out a questionnaire. It'll take you less than 10 minutes to fill out. And you couple that with your Athletica account, and you upload with the Athletica onboarding. If you're not already an Athletica member, basically come in and just upload your historical data using your wearable, just like Athletica does. Garmin, Wahoo, intervals, Strava, and boom, they've got actually a look at your movement patterns in comparison to your nutrition practices. And we're comparing across individuals, across ages, genders, different diets. But this is we hope to have thousands of participants in this too, so that it's a very powerful study that we can bring insight back to you, the public.
That's exciting. We'll put a link in the show notes for the questionnaire, and stay tuned for more information on that.
What's the next pillar?
Sleep. My favorite.
Oh, I do. I love sleep.
What do we do? Why is sleep so important?
Well, I always say it, but I always quote Alistair Brownlee, two-time gold medalist in triathlon. He's a Athletica investor, and he came on the podcast and he said that look, in his entire experience, he found that recovery was 90% sleep, 9% nutrition and 1% everything else. It really, for him, if he could get a good night's sleep, he could get away with just about anything. He said in terms of anything, in terms of his adaptations around it. So that was the key pillar. And he's got a really good point. This kind of comes down to what's called your circadian rhythm, right? And this is it's a fancy term for basically being in sleep mode to being in your active day mode. And it's just Matt Walker, Why We Sleep. In the past, we thought we could get away with a lot less, and there is the 5%, 1 to 5% of individuals that can get away for a certain amount of time with very little sleep. But for the majority of us, you need this to be healthy. You need this for your health and longevity. You need this for the VO2 max we spoke about in the last 5 episodes before this. It puts everything back together. It takes all of those nutrition building blocks that we just mentioned, and it recreates you during that sleeping time. How do people set themselves up for good sleep? Marjaana and Paul, Marjaana, you go first. What are your top tips for getting a good night's sleep?
I was gonna say, Alistair and Paul, that's all good, but people do not have time to sleep. I, Seriously, no, seriously. Regular everyday athletes, they have work. If they want to get some workouts in, have to get up at 4 to get it done before going to work or get the kids out of the door. And oh my God, my kids, they woke up super early when they were little. So, and I wanted to get a little bit of time for myself before they got up because when kids are up, it's go, go, go.
Yeah.
So I got up an hour before estimated time they got up. And now they're back to like getting up at 6 because they have to go to school. And I'm like, do I really have to get up at 5 to get at my time? So no, like we don't get sleep. Yeah, we can talk about good sleep and how important it is and nutrition and all that, but sometimes it's not in the cards. So what do we do? Like, okay, so what do we do?
Let's finish with the sixth key pillar first, and then come back to those really legitimate questions. So the sixth one is our mental health and emotional health, and making sure that we are in a good place to do our training, to make sure that we are in a good place emotionally and mentally, that we are able to even consider doing the training that we have scheduled.
Yeah.
If you're in a bad place, sometimes the training is a really good thing to do. Other times you need to take care of yourself and go for an easy walk. Again, it's a pillar of how are we doing today? How are we feeling today?
Yeah. Totally. It's a tough one to almost talk about and get your head around, but it's the mental health and your own feeling of self-worth and health. That is it's a challenge at various different times in our lives, and but it's so key, right? And I think, of course, the 5 pillars that we mentioned before go towards developing that, but there's other things that would be outside of that control that happen to all of us. Losses, ultimately, of loved ones, from various different ways. Breaks of relationships in various different ways. These all take a huge mental toll on us, right? And Yeah, and every single one of us humans is not immune to this. So this is just the human experience. Of course, we're also designed to be resilient and move forward, but in the interim, and that can be a really challenging period. When you can get your head around it, the key pillars are the things that get you back to developing the mental health, right? And a lot of that can start with the movement. So getting out the door, if you're having a challenging time from the mental health situation, getting out the door and moving, and talking it through and thinking, and with all the pain that might be involved, is often a really good sort of first step.
Yeah, and oftentimes when you have had bad sleep, it ties back into the mental health too. Like you
Oh
just,
yeah, the spiral.
it, and then that also plays a role in your decisions when it comes to nutrition. Like I find, like if I'm cranky or slept bad and cranky, I also tend to make less smart decisions of what goes in
Yes.
my mouth.
It loops right back to the sleep and the circadian rhythm, right? So that morning light in the eyes is another key pillar, actually. It's just looped into all that. So yeah, this is a really neat episode, actually. I mean, I'm reflecting on my own, all those various different elements in my own life, as a result of that, right? Because we all have this, like we all can relate to these pillars. Yeah, aerobic training, HIIT training. Am I getting strength training? How's my nutrition? How's my sleep? And then how's my mental health? And it's like yeah, it's just like a little loop around, right? And they all feed on one another. They're
Mm-hmm,
all important for the other one, right? Like there's
mm-hmm,
just this integrative link between all six of those.
So we have a whole list of questions to talk about with this, but let's also address what Marjaana was talking about, for the everyday endurance athlete who wants to have some events that they do well at. And you have a busy family life. How do you manage nutrition and sleep? Uh, let's we've done some episodes on a lot of episodes on nutrition and sleep, and we'll link to some of them in the show notes. But what are some easy ways that we can start to manage good nutrition and good sleep health?
So again, if we're gonna start with sleep, so that's one of the key pillar or key things that you do to try to protect your sleep is to make sure that your screens are off, at least an hour before you're going to bed, and then have something like paper to read. Don't bring your phone to your bedroom, if you can help it. Try to have that outside of the rooms, and yeah, and I think to the nutrition question, Paul, I think that starts as best you can with your own awareness and knowledge of the importance of whole foods, um, and then to when you're hunting and gathering at your local supermarket or market, make sure you're choosing wisely. The outer aisles tend to be the better choices and the less processed choices, and then the central aisles, and that's if you can make those choices and stock your larder, with the right food sources, that's half the battle right there.
yep. But it's so hard to know what to buy and listen to all this advice that is online. Who do we listen to?
That's a good question. I mean, we're biased, right? We we think you should listen to us, but
Yeah,
others would say the opposite.
yeah,
So
we're all biased.
yeah, I think you can't go wrong with whole food at the end of the day, right? Um, yeah, take the Athletica U nutrition course that I've already created, and we just have to get that out of the out there, right? And
Yeah,
then
you
then
heard it
yeah,
here
follow
first.
that as would be my recommendation.
So what's a realistic practical roadmap for integrating these pillars into the everyday life without burnout or over analysis or freaking ourselves out? How should we balance this?
Yeah, super good question, and I don't think there's an easy answer. Life's gonna get in the way first, right? We always sort of say that life gets in the way of the perfect plan, and that's again why we've built Athletica as it is, a workout wizard and changing things up and clicking, dragging things around. Your life goes first, your context goes first, so you got to deal with it. Whatever's in front of you, that's what you've got to address first and foremost. And then once you've ticked the box and you've got that work done and you feel like you've got some space and you've blocked out some time for yourself, then now make a choice. Now go back to the key pillars. What am I now going to do in that window that's all of a sudden popped up for me? Is it am I going to start with some aerobic training? Do I have time for a HIIT session? Am I going to get in the gym? Am I going to eat some good food? Am I going to have a nap? Well, what do you think your body really needs at that point in time? And go grab that relative to your needs. Your needs more than any AI coach in Athletica does. Or talk to your coach. What does your coach think you need, right? I mean, that's why MJ and Paul are so valuable.
So we have a lot of other things to talk about, but we want to be mindful of your time because we're talking about, managing our time. Are there any things that you, Paul and Marjaana, that you want to bring up for today? We're going to be doing some additional episodes on these key pillars. Is there anything that you want to say to wrap up what we're talking about today?
Well, I've been eyeballing that question number 2 that we never got to, which is, are we overcomplicating training? And I want to yell, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chop wood, carry water.
There you go.
Yes.
That is it. Yeah, it really is. It is quite simple, right? And again, yeah, like and this comes up a lot, right? Like in terms of feedback from many users of Athletica, and they are very worried about the precision of their training, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just the granularity of the zones, whether if they're off by 5 beats or 10 watts or these sorts of things, right? And these are probably not big rocks at the end of the day in terms of doing the things that sort of matter, right? It is, yeah, like everything there is a guide, but if it's just slightly off in either duration or intensity or recovery, all these sorts of things, like get the fundamentals in first and foremost. Just get the bulk of the work. Aim for 75% of the workout as best you can. If you're a little off on the compliance score, don't worry about it too much. Even if AI coach gives you a hard time, just tell AI coach to not now. Give me a break.
We will come back to these key pillars in next episodes, so stay tuned and pay attention to what will be coming out. But for today, thanks for exploring the path to peak performance with us today on the Athletes Compass podcast. When you subscribe, you'll ensure you're always tuned in for our next journey into endurance, mindset, and performance. And when you share this episode with a friend, teammate, or a coach, you'll be helping them discover new ways to level up their training and life. Take a moment now, subscribe, share, and let's keep navigating this endurance adventure together. For more information or to schedule a consultation with Paul, Marjaana, or me, check the links in the show notes. For Marjaana Rakai and Dr. Paul Laursen, I'm Paul Warloski, and this has been the Athletes Compass podcast. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Athletes Compass podcast, your North Star through the sometimes complicated world of training for your endurance sport. We appreciate your comments and training questions and your 5-star reviews. For a deeper dive into the science of endurance sports, listen to the Training Science podcast and check out the adaptive AI training platform Athletica.ai. Thanks for listening.